Hello, Bible readers. It is Wednesday, April 7th. We're reading Psalm 46, Psalm 80, and Romans 12, verse 9. It says we're going through 14:12. I don't actually get into 14 because I have so much to say about 13, but Psalm 46 is a psalm of confidence. It's the one after Psalm 23 that many of us know best, especially we who are Lutherans. This is the psalm that Martin Luther uses to write, "A mighty fortress is our God." And that mighty fortress song, we sing that at our high festival days whenever we can. And so I'm just going to read some of it. "God is our refuge and strength, a very present help in trouble. Therefore we will not fear, though the earth should change, though the mountains shake in the heart of the sea, though its waters roar and foam, though the mountains tremble with its tumult. There is a river whose streams make glad the city of God." And of course, toward the end, it says, "Be still and know that I am God," which is always, for those of us who do, it is a helpful reminder to simply be still. And in the stillness, oftentimes that's when we remember God is God. Psalm 80 is also an exceptionally helpful psalm, I think, to people seeking healing. "Restore us, O God," says verse 3. "Let your face shine that we may be saved." It is a good shepherd psalm. There's a metaphor working in Psalm 78 and 79 as well, appealing to God as a shepherd, and we sheep in need of a good shepherd. Into Romans, this is an interesting section. There's this, basically chapter 12, verse 9 through chapter 14, verse 12. This section is a section on the church facing the outside world. How is the church to regard and participate in the world outside itself? I mean, different Christian denominations express this idea differently. Evangelical Christians, as we've seen especially in the last 20, 30 years, they are more bent on kind of impose Christianity's values and morals onto the general society. Roman Catholics oftentimes, and even some other Lutheran denominations, will be more apt to, I don't know if cloister is the right word, but kind of set up their own. That's why, for example, Roman Catholics and Wisconsin Evangelical Lutheran Synod will have their own schools. And so rather than, not to generalize and say all of Roman Catholics and Wells Lutherans, send their kids to their own schools, but they set up their own schools because they believe that's part of how to raise children best. Whereas the LCA Lutherans, there's this idea of how to regard and participate in the outside world. We're not going to try to create our own worlds to raise children or otherwise. We're gonna raise our kids in faith and send them into the world that everyone else shares. Those perspectives, should we set up our own school? Should we try to impose our morals and values on the whole nation, even those who don't believe like we do? Those are different expressions, I think, of what Paul's getting at in this section of Romans. As my commentary says, there's a balance to be kept between looking outside the Christian community at threatening wolves coming to attack and looking outside at God-given civic authorities whose vocation is to keep order and peace. So how much do you trust those outside authorities? That's really what this is getting at. And, Paul he says some pretty strong things. In chapter 13, verses 1-7, "Let every person be subject to the governing authorities, for there is no authority except from God, and those authorities that exist have been instituted by God." Well, that's a hard thing to understand after living through or reading about the 20th century with all the authoritarian and fascist regimes, right? If you're a German Lutheran or any German in Hitler's Germany, how How do you read chapter 13? Well, honey, it's an authority that exists only through God, and yet Paul is writing at a time when Rome is exerting all its power all over Paul's world. And so it's an interesting text. If it was a Bible study, we'd get into it really deep. And I just want to honor the fact that it is difficult and it is a section that is easily misunderstood. I'm just going to give you a couple. I know I'm going long, but my commentary wants to make clear, and this reminds us about how to read the Bible. This passage is a general statement about ruling authorities. It applies to all legitimate authorities all the time. It's based on a general belief in the desire of the Creator, God, for order within all societies. Paul is not speaking to Nazi Germany. Like, that is not the thing he has in mind. Even though we apply it to something like that, that's not where Paul's trying to go with it. Number two, it's a particular statement about the Roman Empire based on Paul's belief that it was in some sense God-given and his experience of sensible leaders. Three, it's a very particular statement about that specific moment in the Roman Empire. And number four, it's a statement of something that is now true as a result of the victory of Jesus over the powers of the world and his death and resurrection. Again, if we were doing a study, we'd go way deeper into this. But just know that Paul does try to take a bite into this question of, so how are Christians to participate in the world? I am one with my God. My God is with us, all of us, at all times and in all places.